you have a very impressive level of confidence on the stage. Like really, like I had the pleasure of seeing you speak in Prague a few months back, and you could tell that you just love being up there. There was even a guy after your speech, he came up to me and he said, Susanna is amazing, so you want to fan that day. But my question to you is, I imagine you didn't come out of the womb like that. I imagine you weren't born this way. So how did you craft or cultivate that confidence that you have now on stage?
Ooh, what a question, Kyle. Well, I have had the pleasure to see you speak multiple times, so I need to bounce this question right back to you afterwards. But let me start by saying I was born like this, and then I was pulled the confidence away for years, and then I built it back up. So let me focus more on the part where I built it back up, because I feel that's going to be more relatable for a lot of people. So I've been my whole childhood, my mom has been very pushing me to like get out there, speak with everyone. My sister was very introverted by a very young age. And even when we were in grocery stores, people were like, if we needed to know something, I went to ask right away off the bat, no hesitation about it. And my sister was hiding in between the shelves, like, don't speak to random people. So I really was born with the confidence that I am now. But when I went to school and everything, I was extremely bullied for years and years and years and years and years. And not only in school, when I went to relationships later on in my life, I was really pulled down, toned down. It was wrong relationships to be in, but obviously not knowing it by then. So that was really something that took a really big crash on my confidence overall. So when that all kind of when I realized that had like really affected that drastically on my life, and I was kind of building something different out of myself that I truly was, it was the first important thing was to realize that has happened. Because if I didn't realize that I've let my confidence to really pulled away from me, I would have never known how to build it back up. But the number one thing was to having the right people around me. I mean, my husband is the number one thing what helped me the most. I mean, he's the most confident individual in this whole world. I've never seen more confident person in my entire life. And it comes from the sports background. It's just really, I love like being able to be like on a game day, like really having that imagination of like going onto the stage like it would be a game day. That's like something I resonate so deeply with. But then on top of that, kind of just understanding the people around you, that they're really building you back up rather than pulling you down. So first person to really cut off is the person who says you're too much, out of my life. Second person to cut out is someone who asks constantly, are you sure? Cut it out. And the third person is your own mirror reflection. If your own mirror reflection is asking questionable questions. So really just understanding those are all needing to be shut out. But after that, it's just the journey, trusting the process, trusting the journey. Toastmaster helped me a lot, but overall, just trusting the journey of building your confidence back up has been a huge, huge, huge change. But yeah, nowadays, I mean, yeah, I maybe was born close to this, but I'm quite higher nowadays than I was when I was born.
You rediscovered it. Yeah, that's cool. And it's so true. The people around us, they do have a massive impact. And we've all heard about, you are the average of the 5 people around you and all these things. But there is so much truth to it that we almost forget it. We dismiss it because it's just common knowledge. But it actually does play a major part in your career, in your general confidence, but in your speaking as well. Ultimately, if you are not around people who are of a high level of speaking or perhaps better than you, it's very hard to progress yourself. So that's a very, very good point you've made there. And I could relate to a lot of it myself. For me, what helped me from going from being very anxious about speaking specifically to more confident was kind of a mixture of 3 things. I would say number 1 was learning the how. So the actual skill of how to present. I'd never been taught that in school or university or by anyone before. So actually learning that there is a process to this was really important. And then secondly, I think stage time, just that reps. You mentioned sport there. I know you're a big football, soccer player.
Yes, yes.
And the more time you spend on the pitch, the better you get somehow, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. And then lastly, to kind of tie back to your point, I had a lot of people who were better than me at speaking, who were able to guide me and support me and encourage me And that's what helped as well. So there is no secret to it. It just takes a lot of time, Susanna. And how long would you say it took you to go from being kind of quite worried and hesitant to going onto the stage to really getting to the place you're in now and enjoying it? How long did it take to getting that level of confidence back?
Okay, this is not going to be a realistic answer because time-wise, it took me a year and a half. But that's a really, really short amount of time. And that's why I say it's not realistic answer is that it took me over 100 speeches in that 1.5 years. Because I had speech after speech after speech after speech after speech in Toastmasters, for example, or took table topic, took a role, being on stage. Like you said, reps are reps. So really just getting it into it, because I love your topic 2 or your tip 2. That's so it, because I keep teaching all the time while I coach that public speaking is exactly like sports. Like this is a muscle memory that you're training constantly. So that's really it. And that's why when I say year and a half, maybe even a year, it's not a realistic answer, because we should be thinking about how many times I've been on a stage and that being the time frame rather than the years and weeks and months or whatever. So yeah, around 100 speech or stage times. That was the point when I was like, oh shit, this is actually fun.
yeah. And I think I probably something similar, but that 100 mark you begin to enjoy it. Someone also said to me once that the difference between an average speaker and a great speaker is 1,000 presentations.
Oh, so again, probably,
it goes back to that rep piece. And I think there probably is a correlation between someone's level of confidence and the amount of presentations they've done.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Is that kind of the top tip you give clients when they are perhaps nervous or have a fear about public speaking? Do you say to them, look, reps are key, or do you have some other strategies that you give them to build up their confidence as well?
Short term or long term?
Well, I think long term. Let's go for more deep.
So I would love to say reps are reps. It's true. But you can chat GPT that and hear that same answer. Or you can just listen to your own brain and say, okay, obviously reps are reps. It's a factual information, but it's not something that I would tell a client necessarily. What I would say when it comes to the long-term build-up for your confidence is self-reflection. That's something that I do with my clients as well. That's something that I'm very deep into myself. If you don't reflect on the journey, if you don't reflect where your voice is coming from, how the hell are you going to build any sort of confidence on you? So if it's always just a fake, egoistic, I'm good at public speaking, you will never be as confident as you could be. But if you're true to your words, if you're true to yourself, if you're true to what has happened to you in the past and not allowing it to affect you anymore, that's going to build your confidence a hell of a lot more than anything else. And that's why I keep telling people, like when people say, like you've heard, like, Susanna is so awesome, she's so confident, she's so whatever. And I keep telling them, like, hey, understand where I come from. Like all of that confidence that I'm showcasing on a stage comes from a huge amount of pain. Like I've gone through so horrible times in my life, and reflecting on all of those, that really has just boosted up my confidence, because now I'm allowing myself to be the confident version that I am. So that would be my long-term tip for people. Self-reflection takes time. That's why the long-term, and obviously needs to be compared with reps as well. But it really, that's the number one thing that you need to know. You need to know who you are to be able to convey any sort of message, or really see where your passion is coming from, or where your voice is authentically coming from.
So is that kind of owning your past in a way? Like maybe looking back at a situation where, you maybe in the past saw yourself as a victim, but now not seeing it like that and seeing it as, okay, that was something I learned there, and it's made me a stronger person to go forward. Is that what you're saying with that sort of self-reflection piece?
Yes, it's that, but it's also kind of understanding that everything happens for a reason, very similar to what you said, but really understanding that it happened for a reason. Not just being like, okay, I'm not a victim anymore, looking at myself back, but understanding, okay, what did I gain out of that? Like, it might be very brutal and it's super hard. That's why self-reflection is super difficult for a lot of people. Because, for example, looking back from my own story, like where I was crying in a closet, hiding for not getting another hit, and now looking back on it and being like, okay, what did I learn from it? It's really difficult to find something positive out of it and something that I really gained to this day. But for example, getting a negative feedback from someone is like in from the other and out from the other, because at least I'm not crying in the corner, hiding behind a wall. Like that kind of thing. Like all of that builds up so much more than what we would think. But we need to be authentically vulnerable and be able to say our stories and our past out loud. And that's only possible after we self-reflect. Because when we truly know how to speak about our experiences, we can put them in a motivational speech. We can put them in a storytelling matter of really building up your speech even better. So that's more what I mean with the self-reflection of like understanding what you can use from your past to your superpower nowadays, rather than, like you said, being a victim about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost taking fuel from it in some
100%. Oh yeah.
Galvanized. I like that because so many people do avoid the past. They avoid what has happened to them, and as a result,
as
a result, they're a prisoner to it, aren't they? They're kind of stuck there. They might not consciously be aware, but subconsciously, they're still stuck being that
100%.
instead of unshackling themselves and gaining the energy to continue forward. So I like that a lot. Yeah, I like that a lot. And maybe I'll add something here to the sort of more long-term stuff. What I often see is a big issue with people having the fear, and they might have the skills, they might have the practice, they might have the background knowledge, but what they lack is the self-image. And what I mean by that is actually seeing themselves as a speaker. You know, because often people don't view themselves in that light, and therefore when they get on stage, they feel like I'm an imposter. I don't belong here. This is not my thing, right? And if we want to get to a place where the stage is our home, we need to begin to change that image. We need to start calling ourselves a speaker in some ways, and as you say, not in a sort of self-development voodoo sort of way. I'm a speaker. Actually building that with real stuff behind it, looking back at past experiences and saying, you know what, I did do that presentation well, or I did do that success. It doesn't even have to be presentations. It can be other hard things you've done in your life. And I can do hard things. If you have that self-image, and that's empowering, and you can take to the stage as well. So I often find I'm being a little bit of a psychologist with clients sometimes. I'm like,
that's how I feel too.
Yeah.